Right, hello everybody. Welcome to the episode 28 of the On the Line Tennis Podcast. It's myself, Jack Edwards, and my co-host.
Yes, Gavin. Yeah, good evening. Yeah, what a day, what a weekend of tennis, what 2 weeks of tennis.
Yeah, it's been finals weekend. Yeah, tons to get through. Loads and loads of good matches. A few quarterfinals for you, some semis and finals in the men and the ladies singles sides. Loads and loads to get through, so we'll just dive straight in. Okay, yeah, let's start on the women's side. I'll start with Collins. I'll start with Barty. Barty's victories over Madison Keys and Jessica Pegula in the semi-finals and quarterfinals respectively. I just wanted to do a little bit of a take on her slice. And I mean, I've been a pretty big part of tennis the past few months, and certainly the last I've been a pretty big part of Twitter even the last few months, and especially during the Australian Open. So I've had a lot of takes on Barty in general, and a lot of people don't seem particularly enthralled by her game. I think a lot of it has got to do with the slice, Gavin. This is what I want to do a bit of a piece on. Because for me, the slice is probably the most important shot in Barty's arsenal, and that is a
Totally
big
agree.
take.
And it's actually, I think, one of the main aspects that makes her entertaining to watch, how she uses it. So I don't understand why people are moaning and complaining about it. I think it's one of the biggest assets.
Each to their own, isn't it? I think some people like it, some people don't. I think it's artistry. It's such a difficult shot to do well, which is why nobody else does it well. It's not easy, but obviously it comes naturally to her. She's got amazing feel. I think that's part of it. Obviously, that's why she's such a good doubles player. That's why she's got such a good slice. There are very few players who can put as much spin on that slice as Barty does, and it wins her points that she shouldn't be winning. That's why she's able to grind out so many of these like really defensive points that look a bit scrappy. But
and what you notice against the bigger hitters like Alison Keys and Pegula as well
Madison
is that
Keys
it's
even.
sort of Madison Keys.
Yes.
It's sort of like it's strange because like it gives big hitters no pace in the ball, so they've got to generate their own pace a bit more, and often they make errors because either they go for it too much or they're too hesitant.
Yeah, and it tends to work particularly here in Australia when the I think it was Pegula's match and Keys' match were both night matches or at least under the roof, and obviously it'll stay dead on the court. Barty actually talked about it at one point in her press conference and said, the court here in Australia changes so much. It's important to have variety in your game. Obviously, she's one of the only players who's able to play totally different kinds of games any day of the week. And when the roof is closed and the courts are a bit quicker and a bit deader, I think that suits Barty more because the slice, I mean, it barely bounces off the court. And for somebody like Keys, who absolutely hammers every ball she can get, probably the biggest forehand in the women's game, it's an absolute momentum killer. And
You've got to put more topspin in the ball, don't you, with a lower bounce, and obviously that means, especially someone hits the ball quite flat and hard, it's more difficult to control the ball. The night conditions totally suit the slice and very conducive to her game style, and probably played a big part in how easily she was able to win matches during the tournament.
Definitely, yeah. However, the person she faced in the final actually gave her a bit of a run for her money. Danielle Collins, 27th seeded American. She has had loads of success in hard courts actually last year, posting top 10 numbers. Well, before she became a member of the top 10, she's now a member of the top 10 as of this week. But last year, obviously, ranked about low 20s in the world, she was posting hard court numbers that were equivalent to the top 10. So she's always been a player who actually has this game, a sort of a sleeping giant, if you will, somebody who could overperform on hard courts for a ranking. So she kind of stepped up to the plate this week, showing how well she could aggressively return. Beat Clara Tolson in particular, I thought was one of her best victories. The person who beat Annette Kontaveit on the way to the third round this week. I thought against Swiatek in the semi-finals. She tore Swiatek apart, and I'm really gutted I didn't call this. I did know it would be a bad matchup, but I thought Swiatek's kind of ability to grind out matches nowadays would probably stand her in good stead, but the matchup difference was exceptional. Swiatek's serve just got absolutely battered every single
game
point.
Broke down, made loads of unforced errors as well. So
I mean, it made sense because of how flat Collins hits the ball off her backhand. I mean, Swiatek had absolutely no chance off in the points that were sort of 0 to 4 shots. I mean, she had no chance because the return was just getting battered, and on the serve, I mean, she was setting herself up for a backhand.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Serve was just getting punished. I mean, brutal to watch.
it was, yeah. But I'm just interested to see somebody like Swiatek get rushed on hard courts so easily. She still isn't a player who's able to beat the best players in the world on hard courts. For me, that's 0-3 on top 10 opponents. I think 4-9 off the top of my head against top 20. Either way, she's not the same player she is anywhere near the same player
Yep.
she is on hard courts as she is on clay, which is saying something. Obviously, she could still do quite well on hard courts, and she's only 20 years old. Loads and loads of room for improvement. So, getting to the semis of the Australian Open, there's loads of room for improvement on hard courts. Swiatek fans should still be hyped for her, definitely, but just goes to show, she's not quite there yet. Yeah, anyway though, Collins obviously showing how well she could return, especially in that match against Swiatek. So when she got to the final against Barty, she couldn't really put it together, to be honest. Barty's serve just way too good to be attacked like that. Collins maybe not possessing the defensive return capabilities that I would have
Yeah.
liked to have seen. Just, all she was looking for was the attackable serve, and it just
I
wasn't
think in
happening.
the first set she was quite nervous in the final. You could tell, few
Yeah,
nerves,
yeah.
and Barty played very well. To be fair, what happened in the second set was interesting. Obviously, that big lead that she got, and then Barty just woke up out of nowhere after having fallen asleep really for a while at the start of that second set. But also
There
the
was
crowd.
definitely nerves there for her as well, to be
Yeah,
fair.
I mean, falling asleep's a wee bit harsh. Maybe some
Yeah.
nerves. Reverse situation from the first set, but I thought the crowd again. I think the crowd does play a big part, doesn't it? I mean, the crowd
Yeah.
were getting behind Barty, and I thought they overstepped the mark. Not for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Doing Collins' first and second serves, and when Collins was losing points or making mistakes or cheating, I thought it went a wee bit too far. But fair play to Barty, she came up with the goods, and she was able to get. I thought in the tiebreak she was remarkable. Showed so much, bottle, and she held her own really well, and closed that match out. Yeah, like all the pressure on her as well. Like everybody in Australia seemed to be talking about her. And similar to what Murray did at Wimbledon to get that win at your home slam, remarkable,
Yeah.
absolutely remarkable.
Yeah, I had a take on that. Her reaction at Wimbledon seemed to be more emotional almost than the one in this final. The almost like release of pressure on winning this match was
Mm.
this incredibly visceral scream. She said she watched it back and she was like, "That's not me." She didn't even recognize herself doing it. Obviously, she must have been in this sort of zone mode by the end of the match. But it just goes to show, I think, how relieved she was to win a home slam.
I think Murray said that about his first Wimbledon. It was more relief than he enjoyed the 2016 win a bit
Yeah,
more because he could, he'd done it before and he could sort of just relax a bit more. That he'd got that win in
yeah.
2013. He could sort of savor the moment more. But no, remarkable, really good under pressure, great game style. Seems to be a great person as well. I don't know why people wouldn't like or enjoy watching her play, being honest, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a mad world we live in.
Mm-hmm. I know it is. It totally is. I really do. I think people just like things to complain about, to be honest, Gav.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just a few parallels there. I like that because Barty had also been the sort of nearly woman at her own slam. She'd made the semis and bizarre losses to Mukova in the quarters one year. Who did she lose in the semis? Can't remember off the top of my head. But again, sort of getting really close, but not quite making it. It was the
Mm-hmm.
same for Murray as well. Obviously, having made the semis and losing to Rafa, making the
Yep.
final, losing to Federer, and eventually coming through. Yeah, there's a lot of parallels to be made. So I expect Barty to win another slam. The same thing to happen as Murray. I think she'll
Yep.
enjoy another slam. Sorry, another Australian Open,
Mm.
and she'll enjoy it a lot more. I think the second time round, just as Andy did, probably.
Yeah.
Brilliant win for her. A few stats for you, Gav. First Aussie since Chris O'Neill. I'm sure you might have seen that, since 1978 to win the Australian Open.
Mm-hmm.
27. Did you see this? Defeats the 27th seed in her
Yes.
27th Grand Slam main draw to win her
Yep.
27th tour level title, singles and dubs combined.
Yep. That was a really good bit of research. Saw that on your Twitter yesterday, and yeah, remarkable.
Yeah, it was almost a bit savant of me, to be honest. I don't know how I put those numbers together, but yeah, I don't know. It kind of just made sense eventually to find that other 27 when I found the first two. So found it somehow. And yeah, quick question, Gav.
Oh
If you
no,
don't get
not a
it, no
quiz
worries.
question.
And I'm sorry because it's been 2 weeks of early starts. But
I need to find a quiz question for you. I need to find the ultimate harsh quiz question for you.
this one's, I'm sure if you mull it over for a second, you'll get it. Only active players to have won Grand Slams on hard courts, clay and grass. Sorry,
How many
male
players?
and female.
How many players have I got to get?
5.
I think I need more in a second.
Oh,
Well, Rafa's
yeah.
one,
Mm-hmm.
Novak's one,
Mm-hmm.
Roger's one.
Yeah.
2 more we need. Well,
Yeah.
Barty's going to be one.
Yeah.
So we got one more.
Yeah.
Ooh. Ooh.
You just got to think of the person, so don't clutch at straws.
Serena.
Yeah. Boom. Brilliant. And quick final stat just to mull over before we move on to the men's. Since 2006, American success. I don't know if you saw this again on my Twitter, but women's Grand Slam finalists women's Grand Slam finals featuring an American. 38 out of the last 63. Mm-hmm. Men's Grand Slam finals featuring an American. 1 out of the last 63.
Yeah, well, we do like to talk about the decline of US tennis, but when you think about how good US tennis era was in the 90s and the 80s, it's like, well, we are in the Big Four era, and you actually look at how many Americans are in the top 100 now. I think there's going to be a resurgence of players, especially Korda. I think Korda might be the one that is the most successful at the current crop of US players anyway.
Yeah, I've got a wee theory for you. I literally just thought of this here actually, but this could be right. As the game has progressed, particularly sort of before the noughties, when the serve was particularly important, but also the ground strokes weren't as important. So the serves are important now. They've gotten bigger
like
now.
Serve and volley exclusive.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Exactly. Yeah, and you could live with not having a good backhand. Nowadays, that is not the case. It's an all-court game. You definitely need to have sort of rally temperament. Because Americans tend to practice on hard courts, they put the onus on the serve, the forehand when they're growing up. My theory is maybe it's less likely to have them break the top 10 in the world as, say, a European.
Yeah, probably Agassi would be the exception to the rule in the 90s because he won Wimbledon, obviously, with an incredible backhand return return in general, but the backhand as well. But yeah, you're right. Spot on, I'd say.
That was quite tidy there, actually. It was quite...
Very tidy. Very good recap, that.
Yeah, it was. We'll see if the men's is tidy, because there was fucking tons in the men's side, controversy-wise as well.
Yeah.
We'll start with a couple of the quarters of the eventual finalists. So, Rafa and Shapo first. Just initial thoughts, Gav?
Very, very interesting match, wasn't it? I actually said before going in that it was one of those matches that could go any way. It could be Rafa in 3, Rafa in 4, Rafa in 5, Shapo in 3, Shapo in 4.
Yes, we did say that. Yeah.
It's just how the sort of unpredictability of Shapovalov's game. I thought initially Nadal obviously came out in the blocks playing really, really good tennis. 2 sets to love lead. And then when he lost, especially in the 4th set, when he had that problem with his stomach, and when he lost that 4th set, I thought Shapovalov this is Shapovalov's time. This is going to be his big, big, big Grand Slam victory here. And I just can't understand in the 5th set why he was going for lines so much. He was going. It was like I was watching it. I was thinking, I do love watching the offensive tennis, but it's like you've got to play with some margin, especially when Rafa's hurting. You see Rafa is hurting. Don't try and blast him off the court. This is the time to almost do RBA tennis. Just trying to outlast him from the back and then wait for your moment, then hit. I felt it was very frenetic.
Spot on, Gav. Spot on, and just a wee bit of post-match quote for you, and I think this totally ties into that. Rafa had said after the match that he was waiting for a miracle from Shapo. Literally, that was his words, waiting for a miracle. Sure enough, the break that he got in the 5th set was 4 unforced errors from Shapo. So and 2 of them were serve plus ones. So literally on the second shot, the shot he should be making.
Shot where you should be making the ball and aggressive ball, making the error. And it's frustrating because Shapovalov is one of those players where he could win 3 or 4 majors in his career just by playing lights out tennis in 2 weeks, for 2 weeks.
I honestly think he's still a bit naive. I think the fact he's only had 2 top 5 wins out of like 20 or something in his career, and the Zverev one barely counts. Zverev was not on at all. There was no pressure. Is my point.
Like Zverev.
there was no pressure. I'll rephrase that. There was no pressure on him to win that match when he, like for the straight sets is what I mean,
Well,
compared
I
to a
think it's
normal top
reflective in
five
the number of
match.
titles he's won as well. He's won one ATP 250. For a guy of his talent, he should have won more than
Yeah,
that.
yeah, totally,
Felix hasn't
totally.
won a title, but I would say with Felix, he's made 8 other finals. He's made 8 finals in the ATP Tour. Shapovalov not made that many.
Yeah, I mean, Felix is looking like a way better player at the moment. We'll get onto that in a second,
Just
definitely.
mentally better
But
anyway.
he knows what it takes to win. Whereas Chapo,
Mm.
I mean, he looked totally flabbergasted as to why he lost that fifth set. Smashed
Yep.
his racket to pieces at the end. He
Yeah.
doesn't know what it takes to win a match.
Again,
Not a match again, too harsh. You know what I
there are
mean?
certain players that when they get annoyed, they play better, and when they have arguments with the crowd or the umpire, they play better. I don't think Shapovalov is one of those players. Being honest, I know he
Yeah.
did
Mm-hmm.
better after complaining about the Rafa time violation, but I just don't think he handles the confrontation as well as other players round about his ranking or his age.
Do you? Yeah, you're totally right about that, Gav. I agree with that. Just do you have any words as well to say about the controversy? With the umpire.
My issue with it was the first problem is the umpire is saying it to his Carlos Bernardes. Now, Bernardes, in case people don't know, Nadal has asked previously for Bernardes not to officiate any of his matches because Bernardes used to be very strict with Rafa in terms of pulling him up for time violations and pulling him up for specific time related issues. So I got the impression that Bernardes was sort of trying to avoid confrontation with Nadal because of what was happening in the past. That was my
Okay.
sort of thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
With regards to Rafa, I think Rafa said afterwards in the press conference that Shapovalov that he didn't agree with Shapovalov saying he was getting special treatment and all that. I think the issue with Shapovalov's claim is the use of the word corrupt was a very poor way to word
Yes.
it.
Mm-hmm.
You can voice your frustration and you can say stuff like, "Oh, it's not fair that Rafa's taking this time," or "I don't think it's right," and that's different because you're not accusing the umpire of committing a crime or basically you're not questioning the umpire's character. You're just complaining about wanting the umpire to intervene more. The issue was the word corrupt
Mm-hmm.
for me. When you use a word like that, it's a very serious word to use. Okay, it was here at the moment, but you don't use that word for me.
Definitely, yeah. No, he just seems a bit immature, to be honest. Yeah,
He
I think
does.
there's just a lot of progress to be made in terms of maturing. That'll happen over time. Right, yeah. Anyway, brilliant. It was a brilliant match, to be
It
fair.
was.
Really enjoyed it. Another really brilliant match on the other side, Medvedev v Felix Auger-Aliassime.
Yes.
What a
Fantastic. I
match.
thought
One of the
first
matches of the
two
tournament.
sets and a half. I think Robbie Koenig said this, I think, in a tweet, or it might be Robbie Koenig, it might not have been, might have been somebody else, but Felix was remarkable. For 2 sets and a half, he looked unbeatable. He was remarkable.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we kind of knew it. We did kind of know that peak Felix is
Mm.
probably, sort of top five in the world.
Yeah, and he looked like he tidied up that forehand that could make errors and could let him down. But obviously
Yeah,
that sort of creaked in at the later stages of the match. But
yeah, but
first
it's
two
just
sets and a half, he was remarkable.
his ability to put those points together
Hmm.
consistently, like forehands in the perfect places, is just
Yep,
insanely good.
deep in the
Um,
court, plenty of pace on them.
yeah, and I mean, yeah, he did show why like he could be or he deserves a place in the top 10. I don't know if he still is in the top 10. He might be.
He
He
deserves to be.
probably is now. I think he is actually now.
Mm,
Yeah, he's probably going to be there for a while. He's still only 22 years old.
mm.
Like, guy's amazing. But then, it wasn't even clutchness. I really don't think it was a question of clutchness. I think he actually held his own pretty much the whole time. I
He did.
think like that match point save from Medvedev, what
There's nothing he can do
213
about
out
that.
wide.
There's not. I don't even think Djokovic would have returned that
No,
serve.
yeah,
It was
no
pretty
way,
much
no way.
perfect. You could say maybe there was some forehand unforced errors that sort of ruined their ugly head in terms of it did sort of go a wee bit, but I don't think it wasn't a collapse of the shot. It just he began to miss more forehands. But I think that's testament to Medvedev for putting him under more pressure and playing better and raising his level.
Yeah, yeah,
So I thought it was
definitely.
more Medvedev winning it than Felix losing it.
Yeah, definitely,
Taking it.
definitely. There was
His
times.
reaction to the defeat just shows you the maturity as well. What he said in the press conference about
Oh, stark contrast to
yeah,
Shapo, wasn't it?
it's
That's the
sort
thing.
of how Cammy was on the court as well after losing that. Very
I
impressive.
get it though. I get it because I think the guy's just shown that he could win a slam.
Mm.
Like
Yeah,
he
no, but
he
I guess there would be disappointment there. But he did not, he was ice cool in terms of sometimes you see players getting very frustrated in press conferences or after matches. You saw Shapovalov smash the racket, obviously, but Felix just
Yeah.
seems to be far more calm and level-headed.
His last two slams. So quarters at Wimbledon, lost to Berrettini,
Yep.
4 sets. Lost to Medvedev in straights, I think, at
Yeah, in
US,
the
definitely
semis.
in
Yep.
straights. Yeah, he's a step closer. Loses in quarters in 5 extremely close sets. I get why he's drawn positives. I
I think
respect
when he
him for that a
gets that
lot.
first title, I think that could even elevate his game into more consistency as well. I think when he wins that first title, I think it could open the floodgates for him. I really want to see him get that first title.
I think that's in the list of things that Gav says the most on this podcast.
It is.
Definitely,
It is. Yeah. Can we
you are.
trademark that? Can we
I
trademark
don't,
that? I
you
want
are.
royalties when he wins that
Yeah.
title. I'd like royalties.
You
I
are
would
so
like that.
hungry for that title, Gav. It's
I
unreal. I mean,
am.
we all are, but you certainly are,
Almost.
definitely.
It's almost as much as Marin Cilic winning another Grand Slam, but not quite. It's Cilic winning the Grand Slam, then Auger-Aliassime getting the title.
Brilliant match for the two of them. Really good match to watch. Moving on to the semis, Berrettini v Rafa was the first one I've got here. I'll just talk
Mm.
quickly about the insane matchup difference. I've got a pretty big analysis of it actually on my blog, so I won't get too much into it. You can read it there, but basically the match kind of rested on Rafa being able to lock Berrettini into the backhand jail, basically.
Yeah.
Without having to go aggressive. He didn't use heavy forehands on that side, just angled it. He didn't use heavy backhands. He was just able to loop it high, safe over to the
It was
backhands.
unfortunate that I wrote an article on Thursday night saying that I thought Berrettini had a chance, which
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
didn't age
it
well.
it turned. Yeah, I mean, I thought he had a chance of going 5 sets, I guess, but not really winning. That difference from the baseline was remarkable, and it made him look like he
Mm.
had a second-rate back. His backhand's okay, but it's not as bad as it looked that
I
night.
just said
Rafa
he
just
had
made
to
it look terrible.
vary the backhand slice that he's got because he has got a pretty good backhand slice. He had to vary it up a wee bit. I think he's got a decent slice, especially at Wimbledon
Yeah,
on
oh,
the grass.
he has got a decent slice. I agree. I just think Rafa's the best in the business at countering the slice.
He
You
is,
see
he
him.
is. I wanted him to mix it up a wee bit. That's what I was saying. He can't be one dimensional, and unfortunately, it didn't go well for him. But
I
did think Rafa did look a bit edgy in the fourth set, though. He did look edgy.
He did, yeah. I still think Berrettini isn't good enough yet to be beating Rafa.
Not in
That's
the
just
return of serve as well. Certainly not
yeah,
in the return of
definitely,
serve.
yeah. Just the backhand again being
Mm.
exposed in that department too. Just his topspin backhand was okay actually. It did come to the party sometimes, so he's got potential there, but no, not quite there. Yeah, Rafa ended the match with 60% of the rallies won, which is a
Yep.
remarkable number. This was an exceptional difference, but Berrettini actually lost the majority of the rallies against all bar one of his opponents this week or the last couple of weeks.
Yep.
Kozlov being the only one that lost fewer than him, and I mean it was by a couple of percent.
Mm.
Tons of progress to be made for Berrettini.
Mm.
This is quite telling. I think in the press conference when he was questioned about how it felt to lose to Djokovic, 3 times last year, and this time Rafa, only the best players in the world. He said he feels as though it's time he starts beating them. Right attitude, obviously, knows that he's well aware of his flaws. He knows how much he could improve.
I was most impressed with his first serve points won against Quino Busta at 84%.
Mm-hmm.
Remarkable.
Yeah, but
Doing that.
I mean, exactly. Yeah, so I mean, his strengths are the strongest in the world, but
Mm.
his weaknesses are some of the weakest in the world. The
Yeah.
disparity between the two, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Rublev's forehand to his second serve, but other than that, I can't think of anybody else who's got a sort of bigger disparity between their two biggest weapons.
Then with a forehand and backhand, maybe.
Yeah, but I mean,
Forehand.
yeah, I suppose actually, Benoit Pair's backhand is quite a right up there, isn't it? It's just the rest of his.
The forehand isn't though.
Yeah, it's nowhere near. That's
It's a
true.
random one, but yeah.
No, you might be right. Yeah, no, it's still loads of positives for Berrettini as well. I think again one of the few young guys who came out of this tournament looking incredibly mature and sort of held his head high, just like Felix did. Speaking of actually, Tsitsipas, to be fair, credit to him. I thought he was quite good in the press conference, but we'll get onto that in a second. Mm-hmm. The actual match itself, did you see much of this? Tsitsipas v Medvedev?
Watched it all. Yeah, watched it all. Again, it's return with Tsitsipas. He was 4-1 up in that tiebreak. And I still thought Medvedev could come back just because I didn't think Tsitsipas's return was. I say it a lot, but I don't think it's good enough yet. I just don't think it is. It's improving, but it's not good enough on hard courts or grass courts yet. And play it is, he's got a wee bit more time in the return. So that's, it's slower surface, obvious why he's better on return and clay. I think Medvedev was very impressive. I was very impressed how he held his head together in that first set to come through it. I thought Tsitsipas won that second set mainly because of Medvedev's lack of concentration on serve. He played a poor service game. Although I didn't feel like Tsitsipas has dominated that set. That's why he's won it. I felt Medvedev's played a poor service game there. Tsitsipas is going to serve out the set. But I thought after that, actually interesting enough, after the coaching violation that Tsitsipas got, he did lose pretty quickly, didn't he? After that coaching violation,
He did,
it.
but so to back up Tsitsipas a little bit, post match he said, and I believe him by his tone, to be honest, he said he doesn't want to be coached on court. You can't hear anything anyway, it doesn't help him. But the stress was he doesn't want to be coached on court. It sounds like Apostolos is the problem and not Tsitsipas.
He's got a mask on, Apostolos. You think how?
Well, exactly. Like how is yeah, well, for starters, exactly. But just before we say any more about it, apparently they had a Greek-speaking umpire, Greek-speaking official, It was in the corridor underneath the stands who heard Apostolos coaching.
Players have moaned about Apostolos. Berev's moaned about him, Medvedev's moaned about him as well. I think the UTS as well, the Ultimate Tennis Showdown. I think Mute had a big argument.
Mm-hmm.
So I think just if you want to get rid of the problem, then just put the coaches at a place where the players can't communicate, at least can't hear them. You put them up maybe halfway up. I don't know. Give them the cheap seats. I don't. For hospitality, you want wine and dine before a match.
I know. Yeah, it's maybe a good idea. But then you'd see Apostolos drunk. Maybe that it wouldn't end well. I don't know. Given how he acts sober. What did you think of Medvedev's small cat rant?
Brilliant.
Yeah, it was. It was. I liked it. It was funny. I mean, obviously it's not. Obviously, it's not on. But
the post-match interview with Jim Courier as well, when he said, "I just thought, what would Djokovic do, just to wind the crowd up?" I thought Jim Courier's smile on his face there. Jim thought mission accomplished. I've got a great quote out of him. That was great. I just loved that.
Yeah, I liked it too. The match was really good. Actually, it was really high quality. Medvedev was. There's a few iconic moments, definitely. Yeah, anyway, Medvedev did win that in 4, and the final was set, Rafa v Medvedev. This was one of the matches of the, I don't know, ever, basically. It was just an insane match, and the amount of history and the amount of everything in this match was mad.
Just a shame that unfortunate timing for a Winter League match they meant I had to leave at 4-2 in the fourth set. Pretty gutting that. Did win the Winter League match for those who are wondering, which will be none of you listening.
I had one eye on the live feed of the Winter League match and one eye on the Australian Open final.
Yeah, that's where Phil McMillan was all tournament. He wasn't in your sport. He was just he wanted to commentate in our match at Busby. That's where he was.
Of course, yeah.
Didn't have the tube that the Eurosport had.
No. I was doing the commentary on Twitter. Don't worry, Gav.
Oh, yeah.
I'll do a quick rundown of the match for those who, I'm sure everybody saw it, but just explain what happened in the crazy momentum swings. First set was very easy for Medvedev. He kind of pinned Nadal into the backhands, and I don't know, it ran away, and it all looked like it was going to be
Rafa made a lot of unforced errors. Well,
yeah, definitely, yeah. Second set point for Rafa that he fluffed with a slice.
In that second set, Rafa was.
He was, he fluffed that slice at 5-3, and obviously it went to a tie break, and Medvedev just clinched it. Everyone and their granny at that point thought the match was over, surely, and probably Carlos Moya as well. I don't know. I think Rafa was the only one in the stadium that thought he was going to win the match from there, could win the match from there. I mean, anyway, Rafa, especially when he went love 40 down in the third set, I don't know if you saw that. Rafa's drop shot won him a point there. Medvedev's drop shot lost him a point. I just FYI, I will do an analysis of this at one point, but there's so much to dissect. I'm not going to get too analytical at this point.
That's the problem. There's so much to do.
I feel like I couldn't do it justice. I'm just trying to talk through what happened.
Point by point, pretty much.
Yeah, but I mean, drop shots were important, was my point. And
Rafa's execution of some of them was ridiculously good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it's interesting to see from love 40 down, one of the most important points in the match, Medvedev couldn't pull off the variety and Rafa could. Yep. So just keep that in mind, obviously. Fourth set, Med started to look a little wary. He did wane physically, which I was really surprised by. Yep. He was the one that waned first. and that carried on to the fifth set as well. He started losing the longer rallies. Rafa was the one that was winning them all. Cannot believe I'm saying it, but Nadal stepped up in the fifth as well with his serve. I was not expecting him to serve well by the fifth set, but oh my god, I mean, you need to watch it back. There was that part, 3-2, maybe 4-3. I think it was 3-2. Save 3 break points like in a row with unreturned serves, and I mean, I'll do more stats in this, but he can't have had many unreturned serves the whole match, like percentage wise. It's just mad.
Yeah,
Got nervy with the finish line in sight, 5-4 up. I mean, Rafa fans around the world must have been absolutely shitting themselves. I don't know if you saw that guy, but he was 30 love up at 5-4.
Yeah.
And he double faulted at 30-15. I mean, people must have. He said after the match, you know, he started thinking about 2012, he started thinking about 2017. He swore on live TV. I've never seen him do that ever. I don't know if you saw that.
But that was fantastic,
I know it was a nice Rafa moment. But it was just Rafa stuff, you know. He broke back, he kept his composure. Apparently, just FYI, on the final sprint, there was a leg cord noise at 6-5 30 love.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see that? Yeah. It's worth watching back, listeners, if you've not seen it, because I want answers to that. I don't know. Like, it looked a bit controversial.
John Blowman and demand answers.
John Blom was fantastic, to be honest. So I mean, if that was his only blip, fine, I'll let him off, because he did eventually have to just step in and say security is going to take out the crowd's members that are shouting out between first and second serves.
Shut the fuck up, pretty much.
He did, yeah. Because he put it politely at first, and then it was like a little bit edgier, and it was like, I'm gonna fucking get security to.
It wasn't quite James Theophilus earlier in the week with the point.
I know. Basically, just say that you were getting fucking chucked out of here, mate. That was brilliant. We'll get onto the crowd in a second. I have got a bit more to say about them. But yeah, just insane match. Yeah, I won't get too much into stats, but my initial impression is that Rafa was the one that was able to adapt as the conditions got slower.
I do think shot selection played a part as well. I think under pressure, Medvedev's shot selection was a wee bit.
It was, and I don't know if that was mental fatigue, but you know, Rafa looked like he'd been there a million times before. He knew when to use the drop shots. He knew when to move forward. He flummoxed Medvedev multiple times. Really not what I was expecting, especially Medvedev being tired first. But I will never ever underestimate Rafa again. I'm glad I kind of said Rafa was out of the match, because to be shocked like that was amazing.
If these 2 sets of love down, 5 love, 40 love, love 40 down, I would still think he could get out of it. That's the sort of player he is, unless he's playing Marin Cilic. Cilic
of course,
the match done. But other than that, Rafa
he'd be cut through. Exactly.
Oh,
Just insane stuff. A few stats for you, because I mean, this was probably the stattiest match in the history of everything in terms of records broken in the Open era. First player to win the AO final from 2 sets down, probably unsurprising. Second player to win all 4 majors twice. Of course, that's probably the biggest one he's broken, I would say, because it just that officially shows his court surface versatility. Even 6th oldest major champion. That one's underrated, I think. That's that's a big deal. Obviously, Ken Rosewall, Federer are the only ones above him, and they've won multiple titles past the age of 35. But to win AO at 35 years old, obviously it's not unprecedented. But I mean, obviously Federer had done it a few years ago, but I think the parallels between that, 5 years later, it's just amazing. At the same age, it's just so cool. I absolutely love it.
It's just, you think about the generation that we're in now, how lucky we are to have watched that quality of, not just one player. You'd want one player in that generation to, I'd be grateful just for one. I mean, you've got 3. That's what I'm trying to say.
I know, and to see it all unfold. And imagine the biggest twist in them all is that Rafa is the one that ends in 21, on the most Grand Slams. It'd be brilliant. One more as well. Second longest Grand Slam final in history. I mean, of course it is. Like 5 hours, 30 minutes or something like that?
5 hours, 24.
Oh, nice. Well done. Yeah, just mental.
I finally outstated you in one thing there.
Nice, well done.
I'm just trying to confirm my stat, actually, but...
just go with it, Gav. I think you got the win there.
The last time that a player came back from 2 sets love down in the AO final, men's, obviously 2 sets love down. You tell me the 2 players. It was out with the Open era. but it was still the Australian Open,
Right,
obviously.
right, right,
Can you
right.
tell
Okay.
me? Can you tell
If
me the
it's not,
year? And can you tell me the two players? I want my moment of being the quiz
if
master.
it's not in the Open either, I'm going to struggle here. I think it might have been fifth.
I finally outstarted him here.
Don Budge,
Not Don Bud.
Roy Emerson, Roy Emerson.
It was Roy Emerson.
Yes, because that
But
actually rings a bell.
who did he defeat and what year?
I'm going to say 60. Is it even 60 something? Is it earlier than that?
It is 60 something.
Is it 62? What was the year
No,
Rod
it's
Laver
not.
got his calendar slam? That might have been 2. Was it 63
Yeah.
then?
It wasn't 63.
No, okay, I don't know what year was it.
1965. Who did he
No,
beat in the final?
I don't think I know. I can't remember. John Newcombe?
Fred Stolle.
No,
Fred
okay,
Stolle.
I wouldn't have got Fred Stolle. That was tough. That's good stats. That's so 57 years later
Yeah.
that feat was repeated. Amazing. Yeah, that Big Three dominance. That's 65 of the last 68 Grand Slam finals to include a member of the Big Three.
Mm-hmm.
Also, 61 of the last 74 slams won by them too. Will it ever end? Probably not. Does anybody want it to end? No.
Probably
I
not.
think no. No, I think it's amazing. Medvedev in his presser said he had quite a lot to say, so this is just a small excerpt, but to give you an idea, he said,
Great press conference. I'd recommend you watch it. It's only 12 minutes if you've not seen it or watched it. Definitely recommend
yeah,
it.
it's very heartfelt, obviously, and he's obviously had a think about this, but he said again, the kid that was dreaming is not any more than me after today. It will be tougher to continue tennis when it's like this, referring to the crowds cheering pretty much unanimously against him. One of the things he said at one point was when Rafa missed his first serve and one person in the crowd cheered against him, the rest of the crowd kind of tutted. And he said that it didn't happen once to him. It was almost like the crowd were completely and utterly unfairly against him, and it just felt a bit much.
My take on it is that tennis crowds in general have got worse, especially over the past decade since the Big Three era. I think there's notable occurrences everywhere, but I think 2015 US Open final when Djokovic was playing Federer, behaviour of the crowd there was dreadful. Wimbledon used to be okay, but 2018, I think, when it really changed was when Djokovic was playing Edmund, and the behaviour towards Djokovic by the fans there was pretty shocking for Wimbledon. You know, if you think of Wimbledon being a more polite crowd, I think that's not the case anymore. And yeah, you see, I thought the crowd this tournament possibly the worst I've seen a tennis crowd behave anywhere, even worse than New York. In the early rounds, the behaviour was quite frankly disgraceful. But maybe there was also asked. We spoke about this off air about whether it was a nationality issue. He said he thought it was. There has been instances where I think that there is a link between I think three players. If you think Lendl, you think Djokovic, you think Medvedev. Lendl back in the 1980s after winning the US Open, I think it was 1989 if I'm right, it was the next day in the cover of Sports Illustrated, which is a US magazine, sports magazine, prestigious magazine, said the champion that nobody cares about. That was the front cover and he had a picture of Lendl. Djokovic, obviously, we've seen how he's been treated by the crowd, and Medvedev. And you see that I think there is a nationality issue there, being honest.
Yeah. Even in Navratilova, maybe there's other stuff there, but
She said that last year, actually, that she thought it was a nationality issue before the Wimbledon final. Djokovic Berrettini, she said that she thought Djokovic didn't get the appreciation and the nationality could be part of it. So she brought it up herself. So
I think
it's quite
Djokovic may be too polite to talk about it like that. But obviously, Medvedev is a lot franker, a lot more candid, and he said it in no uncertain terms. One of the things he said was if there was a Russian tournament on at the same time as Wimbledon, he'd prioritise the Russian tournament now over Wimbledon. That's how he feels after that match. The tip of the iceberg for him. We can wrap up there. One other record as well, of course, that Medvedev didn't succeed on just before we finish up. He was bidding to become the first man to back up his first Grand Slam title with an immediate second Grand Slam title. The only man apart from Andy Murray who'd even made a final actually post making his first title, winning his first title. So making a final immediately after winning his first title, if that makes sense. Andy doing it in 2012 US Open to the 2013 Australian Open. So came very close but didn't quite make it. But obviously shows you how hard it is to win your first title after winning your second title after winning your first. you came very close. You did better than most. I'm sure Medvedev will be fine and he'll regroup. But yeah, really, really heartbreaking stuff in the press conference. So I hope he rallies after that. Right, we'll wrap up there, Gav. That was a good one. Thanks very much. And thank you very much, listeners, for listening this far through. If you want to catch any of my work, you can go to jackedward.substack.com. Gav is on Last Word on Tennis.
You can see that ill-fated Berrettini article. Big him up. So any Berrettini fans out there can read sort of the positives before the match with Rafa.
Yeah, please join us next time on the Online Tennis Podcast. I don't know if we know exactly what we'll be covering next week. There's a few 250s on. There'll be other stuff on apart from Penny as well, won't there?
Medvedev's playing Montpellier. He's taking a wild card in Montpellier.
Okay, yeah, we'll probably cover a few 250s and stuff. Catch us then for that. Until then, this has been the Online Tennis Podcast. Thanks for joining us. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.